Welcome to the Great Basin Fire Potential Briefing for Tuesday, September 22nd. Today we will have impacts to fire potential in the variation of wind over western and northern areas along with drier conditions. These winds will be gusting generally in the 20s to around 30 miles per hour, nothing overly strong, but due to our large fire situation and some of the low relative humidity we saw overnight over central Idaho, these would be a concern today. Also, we will see continued lightning over parts of Utah. We're already getting some early morning lightning over the higher terrain of the central mountains. These thunderstorms will be a mix of wet and dry and certainly could increase fire potential as we still have some very critical fire danger indices, especially over the southern half of Utah. On Wednesday, breezy winds continue over the north and west, but may decrease a little bit across Idaho, and then they will pick up again on Thursday, especially over central and eastern Idaho, and then over southern and western areas of the Great Basin. We do have a cold front moving in, which may bring some moisture to parts of central Idaho. Might be a little spotty, but we'll continue to watch that. Certainly, relative humidity will start going up later in the week. Looking at our near surface smoke forecast for today, with those southwesterly winds increasing this afternoon, it will be pushing smoke to the east. However, smoke certainly has not been as dense as what we saw last week, but still some hazy conditions or some concerns to visibility. Similar conditions in our 6,000-foot smoke forecast. Over the last 24 hours, we did have some lightning over parts of the Arizona Strip yesterday, and then most recently this morning over parts of central Utah. These thunderstorms were kind of a mix. Some areas only saw a couple of hundredths of an inch of precipitation. Other higher amounts in the far south were up to about a quarter of an inch. Yesterday, our Great Basin fire activity was light, with 13 new fires reported for 564 acres and only just over 500 acres of growth on our large fires. Over the last 7 days, we've had precipitation mainly target the northern portion of the Great Basin, and again, that spotty precipitation further south in Utah. However, continued dry conditions over parts of Idaho over the last 2 weeks, where we are seeing some of our large fires, and also over western and southern areas of the Great Basin. Currently, our ERCs certainly have come down, but are still high over the southern half of the Great Basin and between about the 80th and 95th percentile. These ERCs are still near records for the time of year or above records in areas in our south. Further north, ERCs have been coming up with the drier conditions in place, however, did certainly recover some from recent moisture. Looking at some of our ERC conditions, you can see ERCs over southern areas of the Great Basin, again, have come down a little bit, but are still above records for the time of year. And then also for 1,000-hour fuel moisture in central Idaho, although ERCs have come up or come down more significantly, 1,000-hour fuels are much slower to respond, and they have come up but are still very low for the time of year. 100-hour fuel moisture is most critical in our southern areas. Looking at our satellite picture for today, you can see the trough approaching the Pacific Northwest, again giving us our breezy winds and some cloud cover this morning over western and northern areas. And then the moisture that's moved up from Arizona with continued lightning today and a little bit more coverage across Utah. So for later today, we do have some high risk for lightning, especially for the higher terrain of Utah. Again, some of these thunderstorms will be a mix of wet and dry, but with still critical fuels in some of these spots, that will be a concern for new starts today. Looking at our wind forecast on the left, you can see the breezy winds over the Sierra Front into northwest Nevada and up into Idaho. Again, this area in the orange are breezes generally in the 20s to low 30s, so not super strong, but strong enough certainly to push the fire from the southwest to the northeast. And then our relative humidity, driest across Nevada today, a little bit higher in Utah where we're seeing those thunderstorms develop, and then also will be a little bit higher in parts of central Idaho, but still southern Idaho and some of our southern mountains still will see some fairly dry conditions. Here's our forecast for thunderstorms for later today. Again, you can see those thunderstorms generally in the higher terrain of Utah, which is where we have our high risk. Going into Wednesday, we will see a ridge of high pressure build in a little bit more, so winds will decrease over western and northern areas. Still be a little bit breezy, especially across Idaho, but not quite as strong as what we'll see today. And we will see that moisture being pushed off to the east, so no high risk issued for Wednesday. You can see our wind forecast here on the left showing still some breezy winds for the Sierra Front into northwest Nevada, maybe not quite as breezy as today, and then certainly decreased winds up across Idaho. Relative humidity will be a little bit drier tomorrow, generally single digits to low to mid-teens across the basin. On Thursday, high pressure gets pushed a little bit further south as low pressure moves into the Pacific Northwest with a cold front. And again, this will increase our winds again across Idaho into the northern Wasatch, and also may bring a little bit more moisture to our central mountains. Looking at our winds for Thursday, you can see how those winds increase in Idaho and Wyoming. However, that will be accompanied by at least some higher humidity, as you can see on the right, showing relative humidity above 35 or 45%. Also could see some showers up there as well. But again, there will still be some drier spots, so that wind could be a concern, especially for some of our southern fires in Idaho. And then drier conditions further south. Forecast amounts of precipitation, you can see with the lightning today, spotty amounts of precipitation in Utah, and then some of that moisture clipping Idaho as we get closer to Thursday. On Friday, that front pushes eastward, so we will see higher humidity in the north along with cooler temperatures and still dry conditions over the southern half of the Great Basin. We also could see some breezy winds as that front passes through across parts of Utah, so we will continue to watch that, especially with the lightning today. That wind could stir up some holdovers or certainly affect ongoing incidents, so we'll continue to monitor later in the week for gusty winds. As we move into Saturday, still some moisture in the north, knocking our fire danger down a little bit, but again, those 1,000-hour fuels are still a little bit slower to respond, so we will see several days, though, of higher humidity and at least a day or so of occasional showers. Drier conditions in the south. You can see our wind flow shifts more to the north or northeast. This will push a lot of our smoke off to the west, so probably a more clear weekend coming up ahead. A continued ridge of high pressure in place. Again, those northeast winds pushing that smoke back to the west, so no high risk for the Great Basin, just drier and warmer. However, we will see those downslope winds across California over the weekend, and that will certainly be an impact for their large fires. Similar conditions on Monday, dry and generally clearer skies across the Great Basin with no high risk. Really no change in our 7-day total precip from the 3-day. Central Idaho, again, that Thursday, Friday time period will be the main time period to see any shower activity. Looking at our 8 to 14-day outlook, taking us from September 29th to October 5th, showing above normal temperatures and drier conditions for the Great Basin. That concludes our briefing for today. Check back tomorrow for the latest update.